Hello, my beautiful doves. My name is Mina, and today we're going to be talking about cosmetic surgery. Honestly, I was afraid of doing this topic a little bit because I know it's very contentious. I know there's a number of opinions people have about it, but if you don't agree with me, all press is good press, right? I wanted to do this video topic for a long time now, especially within the last year with the BBL epidemic.
The line to get to Atlanta, 95% of the passengers just got a BBL.
I also did a paper in college about double eyelid surgery in Asia. So I've had opinions about plastic surgery for a while now, and I think it's time. I think it's time for me to make a video on this. I also came across this article on Tumblr. Yeah, because I don't follow Page Six like that. In this article, my queen, Jamie Lee Curtis, has blamed social media for the widespread growth of the plastic surgery industry. She personally doesn't believe in plastic surgery anymore, having had some bad experiences in the past. In 1989, she got an operation done on her eyes, and the medication, the painkillers that they gave her post-operation led to a decade-long Vicodin addiction. She also said that she carried this label, Glam Jamie, Perfect Jamie, that was initially dubbed because of her really good figure, which she admitted to profiting from when she was younger. But now she says, demystifying has been a real goal for me. For myself, as well as on a public level, I'm trying hard to take the veil off the fraud, to be real, to start with me. In the recovery program I'm in for addiction problems, they talk about peeling an onion, exposing more layers. Don't think I'm not afraid of it. I'm not financially independent enough that I don't rely on outside income still, but it's just money. It isn't love. What is beauty? They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I feel like there are some universal truths. Sunsets, flowers, Keanu Reeves. And depending on what society and what generation you grew up in, there are probably some shared ideas of beauty that you have with other members of your community. In America today, ideal beauty is represented by the Kardashian clan, a severe hourglass body shape and a face represented by a mix of ethnic features but still distinctly white. I'll get into that face a little later. But it wasn't always like this. Of course, in the 1920s, the boyish charm of Mary Pickford was pegged as the all-American beauty ideal, to the point where the winner of the 1921 Miss America beauty pageant, Margaret Gorman, bore a notable strong resemblance to Mary. Then in the 1950s, we had the Marilyns, the Elizabeth Taylors, those well-endowed, beautiful ladies with elegant, groomed hairstyles. Skipping ahead to the 90s, we have the straight, supermodel proportions of Kate Moss and Naomi Campbell. So, unfortunately, body types have always been and probably always will be a fashion trend. And yes, it absolutely sucks because a lot of the time, fashion trends are also dependent on the fashionable body trends. Right now, the whale tail or thong reveal trend is in, but unlike the 90s when it was last in vogue, this decade's thong almost always creates a severe V-line to give the illusion that you have wider hips and butt. A bunch of brands have also released skirts and pants designed with a V-line hip cutout shape in mind. And in the 60s, the popular fashion style was the straight boxy dress silhouette that emphasized the youthful boyish body type in vogue. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to the turn of the 20th century, because even though plastic surgery procedures have existed long before, I think the earliest documented case was 6th century BC in India. So even though it's existed for a long time, the modern plastic surgery industry as we know of today really originated in the early 20th century. Why is that? Well, according to historian Lois Banner, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, beauty was identified as this inner true beauty, as in it was more important for women to have good personal character, healthy lifestyle routines, and to engage in proper thinking. By the way, even though this sounds like it was more ahead of the time, inner beauty was still focused on like patriarchal concepts. For example, a woman who was loud and rambunctious was considered uglier than a woman who was demure and polite because that's what the patriarchy wanted. However, by the end of the Victorian era, we see a rise of consumerism and the development of a stronger and bigger beauty industry, notably in new cosmetics and hair care techniques. And the beauty industry subsequently encouraged women to focus more on their outward appearance. Now, external beauty was more important than internal beauty. The one good thing about this beauty industry coming about is that in the 19th century, basically, if you were over the age of 35, you were an elderly woman. But in the early 20th century, it was now encouraged, for better for worse, for 30 to 40-year-old women to partake in these beauty trends, to put on makeup, to try to look younger, which beforehand would have just been inappropriate. As for plastic surgery, we don't have that much information around this time because aesthetic surgery was still very secretive and it was frowned upon by the general society. By the way, just so we're on the same page, because I realized I didn't make this clear, plastic surgery is the umbrella term for two major subgroups: cosmetic/aesthetic surgery and reconstructive surgery. So cosmetic surgery is literally just the plastic surgery we are most familiar with today. It's changing your appearance for aesthetic purposes. Reconstructive surgery is defined as restoring function to a body part that's been disfigured, and also gender reassignment surgery is under this category as well. Surgeons who did offer aesthetic surgery procedures at the time had their own clinics, and they didn't document their procedures because, once again, it was frowned upon. For example, Eugene von Hollander is often credited as performing the first facelift in 1901, but he didn't publicly say that he did it until 1932. World War I was the big game changer in the plastic surgery industry. A lot of soldiers who were lucky enough to come home sustained major facial injuries. As the New York Times observed, no wounds of the European war have been quite so shocking as those to the human face. Thus, surgeons were now tasked with reconstructive surgery to give economic independence back to the veteran. As one surgeon puts it, what is the use of life if he is not in a condition to seek and earn a livelihood? What I mean by that is, unfortunately, we live in a society, and our society has always prioritized beauty. There is a major beauty bias.
There is this network of apps that are essentially beauty passes. So if you're a model or just like a pretty girl or an influencer, you can apply to get in. They're like exclusive, so not everyone gets accepted, but you apply to get in. And if you get in, there's a shit ton of businesses, restaurants, like massages, facials, lip injections, makeup, clothes, whatever, haircuts, everything, yoga classes, Pilates, everything. That you can get for free just if you like tag them on an Instagram story.
And this is because our ideology runs very deep. For an extremely long time, physical ugliness has been considered a marker for evilness, and beauty has been considered a marker for morality and goodness. Think about how the evil stepsisters in Cinderella were purposely depicted to be uglier, while Cinderella, the good, innocent character, was portrayed as beautiful. Italian criminologist Cesare Lombroso even said that you could detect a criminal by his physique. Someone with prehensile feet, left-handedness, hernias, outstanding ears, abundant hair, a sparse beard, enormous front sinuses, prognathism, have no idea what that is, broad cheekbones, a low and retreating forehead, oblique eyes, a small skull, and in women, a masculine face, was probably an evildoer. So, given our society's beauty ideology, these wartime deformities were off-putting to the average American eye. And so there was a real concern that these young men who were drafted into the war at like age 19, who were forced to put their lives on the line to fight for our so-called rights, would have trouble finding a job and being able to make money when they came back. It's a little fucked up, isn't it? The bright side of this, I guess, is that the technology and science that goes into plastic surgery improved a ton during this time period. Also, Sandra Gilman says in his book, Making the Body Beautiful, A Cultural History of Aesthetic Surgery, that the growth of cosmetic surgery coincided with the spread of so-called race science that linked one's physical appearance to one's character and intelligence. For example, those considered racially inferior to the English middle class included the Irish wealth and the lower classes, and those groups were thought to have protruding jaws, which was a sign of inferiority for some reason. So unfortunately, plastic surgery does have its roots in white supremacist, eugenicist thinking. Famously, Fanny Brice, a popular Jewish comedian, got a nose job in 1923 to get an acting role. I understand why she felt she had to do it at the time. As Elizabeth Haken points out, a lot of the Americans who sought out plastic surgery in the early 20th century did so because they wanted to liberate themselves from stereotypes, from ethnic stereotypes, and they wanted wanted to be treated as individual people with real identities. And despite being popularized among wartime veterans, plastic surgery became a very woman-dominated ordeal, to the point that in 2018, 92% of cosmetic procedures were performed on women. And this is because, one, beauty and aging have always been an unequal pressure applied onto women, and two, our patriarchal society dictates that real men don't care about their looks. And in the 1970s, LA surgeon Michael Curtin even said that any man considering a facelift was either an aging actor, a homosexual, or both. So, bringing us back to the 21st century, we have a phenomenon called the Instagram face. The first time I heard this term was in Gia Tolentino's article for The New Yorker, which was published in 2019. Gia describes the Instagram face as a young face, of course, with poreless skin and plump, high cheekbones. It has cat-like eyes and long, cartoonish lashes. It has a small, neat nose and full, lush lips. It looks at you coyly but blankly, as if its owner has taken half a Klonopin and is considering asking you for a private jet ride to Coachella. The face is distinctly white but ambiguously ethnic. Celebrity makeup artist Colby Smith adds, "We're talking an overly tan skin tone, a South Asian influence with the brows and eye shape, an African American influence with the lips, a Caucasian influence with the nose, a cheek structure that is predominantly Native American and Middle Eastern." So, as you can see, the ideal face went from the all-American white, blonde Barbie to something racially exotic but still white passing. And yes, this is bad because in America, currently, people who belong in those ethnic groups who have these features naturally are still ostracized. They're completely excluded because they're not white enough to make the ideal, or if they are included, they're fetishized for having these sought-after features. The Kardashians kind of created this face, and so it's no surprise that celebrity plastic surgeon Jason Diamond said, "I'd say that 30% of people come in bringing a photo of Kim, or someone like Kim. There's a handful of people, but she's at the very top of the list, and understandably so. It's one of the biggest challenges I have, educating the person about whether it's reasonable to try to move along that path towards Kim's face or towards whoever." Kim's face is not the only thing people are trying to replicate. As I mentioned briefly earlier, the BBL epidemic has gone kind of out of hand. And if you want more information on that, I highly suggest watching Khadijah's video on the slim thick body because they really go like in depth with this topic, and it's just too much for me to talk about right now. But anyways, why is it bad for everyone to have the same face? People are just doing what makes them happy. And sure, on an individual level, it's totally fine. I don't like blaming and shaming anyone for getting procedures done. And a lot of these procedures aren't even as dangerous as a BBL, especially the non-invasive ones, as long as you're getting them done by a real medical professional in a real medical setting. The AAFPRS surveyed hundreds of board-certified facial plastic surgeon members to get insight on the most popular procedures in 2019. According to the data, 85% of procedures were minimally invasive. However, cosmetic dermatologist Heidi Waldorf does warn that the non-invasive and quick nature of these procedures has led to the coexistent idea that they are no more serious than a makeup application or hair blowout, when obviously there are more risks involved. So that is one negative of the plastic surgery craze. The more people talk about the benefits and just offer these successful sound bites, the more people are willing to get this procedure without doing the proper research.
Girl, don't do it. It's not worth it. I'm not gonna do it, girl. I was just thinking about it. I'm not gonna do it. I did it.
And that's another reason why a lot of people who got these BBLs ended up coming forward talking about their horror stories in recovery and how this was not the experience they expected.
What the fuck? Why isn't anything getting better? Nothing's getting better. It's only getting worse.
I'm fucking sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it. Oh.
Another downside is the economic costs. Fillers are still expensive, but the way that they get you is that it's not as expensive as a full-blown operation. The average price per syringe of filler in 2019 was $683, and the filler lasts for about 6 months to a year before you have to go in and get one again. And yes, that sounds like a lot of money, but compared to actual surgery that takes tens and thousands of dollars, plus you have to factor in how in recovery you can't go to work, so you have to take time off and you're not making money during that time. So yes, compared to full-blown surgery, it is considerably more affordable. But it's still costly, and these treatments do rack up if you keep going back for more things. Gia said that when she visited an LA plastic surgeon's office, injectables in the cheeks cost between $5,500 to $6,900. An ultrasound lipofreeze to fix the asymmetry in a jawline costs $8,900 to $18,900. And Botox in the TMJ region was $2,500. So, you may not be paying like a lump sum of $20,000, but if you keep going back 6 months after 6 months, it racks up and you probably end up spending more money. I don't know, I'm an armchair expert on that, but there is an addictive nature to getting procedures because Dr. Diamond even said himself, it is true that the vast majority of our patients absolutely love their results and they come back. And also not naming any names because I'm trying not to get
sued.
A lot of doctors have a tendency of offering multiple procedures, even though you had only come in for, let's say, a lip filler. And this is because they want to get more money out of you. And it's total psychological warfare because if you're getting a procedure to begin with, you probably have some kind of insecurity about your face or your body. And I feel like, and tell me if this makes sense, if you have a low self-image already, you're probably prone to developing more insecurities. In my professional opinion, I think it's super insidious for doctors to point out more features that can be improved to people who have already low self-image. And that's bottom line, my major issue with people trying to say that plastic surgery is empowering for women. One plastic surgeon that Gia interviewed in her article said, it's empowering to do something that gives you an edge, which is why young people are coming into my office. They come in to enhance something rather than coming in to fix something. That's a load of bullshit to me, doctor. It reminds me of this one article I read from 1991 by Catherine Polly Morgan, but it still holds up. One of the main points that she talks about in this article is that one of the main reasons that women feel ugly is because of our white supremacist patriarchal society. So changing your body to fit in with this mainstream ideal of beauty is giving in to those colonial and oppressive forces. Yes, even though you're
choosing
to
liberate
yourself from ugliness, you're still allowing these patriarchal ideas of what it means to be beautiful and what it means to be ugly to rule your life. And by the way, once again, I don't have any problem with any individual person who chooses to get plastic surgery. I think it's really sad that our society is the way that it is, but I don't blame anyone for wanting to make their own lives easier by altering their own bodies. But it does annoy me when people take this reach and they're like, plastic surgery is empowering, blah, 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 because it's not. And it's also disempowering just because it's gatekept. $683 for a Botox injection is a lot of money for a lot of people in this country. And it just creates this class divide where the rich are beautiful and the poor are ugly. But rather than before, when we could say rich people are beautiful because they can afford nice makeup and nice clothes, a lot of rich and upper middle class people are not disclosing the fact that they've gotten any procedures done. So instead, when we look at a celebrity, we're like, oh, she hasn't aged a day, without realizing why that is. It also really bothers me, and I know this is just a joke, ragging on white people, but just hear me out. There's this joke that goes around where basically it's like white people age gracefully when they're not problematic. There is zero correlation, obviously, and I don't doubt that a lot of people take it as a joke, but it's also just reinforcing this fact that like aging is an evil person thing. While also ignoring the fact that these people get procedures, have like a team of dermatologists, have personal chefs that make high quality food, who have enough time to rest and relax, that these people have privileges that the average aging woman doesn't, regardless of whether or not they're problematic. Speaking of aging, as of 2020, when asked to predict the top future cosmetic trends, 73% of surveyed plastic surgeons cited prejuvenation, which is a popular preventative treatment among millennials and some Gen Zers. The idea of prejuvenation is getting non-invasive treatments early in life so that you don't have to get surgical procedures as you age. But again, who can afford this? As Morgan hypothesizes, as a consequence to cosmetic surgery, more and more women will be labeled ugly and old in relation to this more select population of surgically created beautiful faces and bodies that have been contoured and augmented, lifted and tucked into a state of achieved feminine excellence. I suspect that the naturally given, so to speak, will increasingly come to be seen as the technologically primitive. The ordinary will come to be perceived and evaluated as the ugly. And you know, over the years, I've gotten a lot more used to and a lot more accepting of my natural face. I don't wear makeup every day. I don't feel like I need to anymore. But even in saying that, like, I can't say for sure that I will never get Botox given the opportunity, because I know how bad society treats Asian women. Did I just say Asian? Well, if the shoe fits, aging women. And why would I want to be treated badly if I can opt out? So in conclusion, I don't want to put blame on anyone. We're all just part of a system and we're all just doing what we can to survive out here. But at the same time, I don't think we should reinterpret this narrative and reclaim cosmetic surgery as an empowering practice, because it's not. People can do what they want, but let's not play pretend here. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about plastic cosmetic surgery and whether I changed your opinion or whether you don't agree with me. I'm open to hearing what everyone has to say about this, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.